The Trojan War, one of the most iconic and enduring stories in Greek mythology, stands as a beacon of timeless themes: love, betrayal, heroism, and tragedy. Though thousands of years have passed since the supposed siege of Troy, the core values of the war, honor, revenge, fate, and the dire consequences of unchecked pride, continue to resonate in our modern world. These principles shape our understanding of human nature and influence the decisions that define the course of our lives, just as they did for the characters in this ancient saga. At the heart of the Trojan War is an event that, on the surface, seems trivial, yet sets the stage for a conflict that would consume both gods and mortals. The myth begins not with a fierce battle, but with a wedding, an occasion meant to celebrate joy. All the gods of the Greek pantheon were invited to this grand feast, save one, Eris, the goddess of discord. Snubbed and seething with anger, Eris threw a golden apple into the midst of the celebration, inscribed with the words "to the fairest." This small, seemingly innocuous gesture sparked a bitter dispute among three of the most powerful goddesses: Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite. Each claimed the apple as her own, and the matter was put to the judgment of Paris, a mortal prince of Troy, chosen to decide which of the goddesses was most deserving. Paris, not a man seeking war, but one lured by promises of beauty and desire, was enticed by the offers made by the goddesses. Hera, the queen of the gods, offered him dominion over all of Europe and Asia. Athena, the goddess of wisdom, promised him military victory and glory. But it was Aphrodite, the goddess of love, who captured his heart, offering him the love of Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world. Enchanted by this offer, Paris made his fateful decision, awarding the apple to Aphrodite. This single act, the judgment of Paris, set in motion the events that would lead to the fall of Troy. Helen, the wife of Menelaus, king of Sparta, was taken by Paris to Troy. Whether Helen fled with Paris willingly or was abducted is still a matter of mythic debate, but in either case, this betrayal was seen as an affront to both Menelaus and the sacred oaths sworn by Helen's many suitors. These suitors, seeking her hand in marriage long before Paris ever appeared on the scene, had sworn an oath to defend her chosen husband, no matter the cost. In response to Helen's abduction, Menelaus called upon this oath, summoning the greatest Greek heroes to join him in a campaign to recover his wife. This act united the Achaeans, Greeks, in a campaign that would shape the destiny of both their civilization and Troy. Though the political alliances and military strategies of the war are vital to its narrative, it is the warriors themselves, both mortal and divine, that truly define the Trojan War. Among the Greeks, Achilles was the mightiest. Renowned for his unmatched strength and invincibility, he personified the ideals of martial prowess. However, Achilles' tragic flaw was his unyielding pride and his code of honor, which would eventually dictate the course of the war. When Agamemnon, the leader of the Greek forces, dishonored Achilles, the great warrior withdrew from battle in a fit of rage. His absence was a critical moment in the war, as the Greeks began to falter against the Trojans. The tide of the war turned in the Greeks' favor only when Achilles' closest companion, Patroclus, was killed by Hector, the greatest warrior of Troy. Grief and fury propelled Achilles back into the fray, where he sought vengeance and ultimately slew Hector. However, Hector's death was not a triumphant moment, it marked the deepening tragedy of the war. Hector, unlike Achilles, fought not for glory, but for his family and his city. His sacrifice embodied duty, courage, and selflessness, and his fall foreshadowed the eventual collapse of Troy. Yet, the most significant figure in the Trojan War, though often overlooked in the shadow of larger-than-life heroes, is Odysseus. Though not as physically imposing as Achilles or Hector, Odysseus was a master strategist, and it was his intellect that would ultimately bring the war to a close. The concept of the Trojan horse, one of the most famous and cunning military strategies in history, was the brainchild of Odysseus. Believing the Greeks had finally given up and sailed away, the Trojans welcomed a massive wooden horse as a gift, unaware that it concealed Greek soldiers inside. When the horse was brought into Troy's walls, the Greek soldiers emerged and opened the gates for the rest of the Greek army. The fall of Troy came not by the sword, but through the brilliance of Odysseus, whose cunning brought an end to the long war. The gods, as ever in Greek mythology, played a pivotal role in the Trojan War. Divinely fueled animosities and alliances swirled throughout the conflict, with Hera and Athena supporting the Greeks and Apollo and Aphrodite backing the Trojans. The gods intervened directly in battles, guided their favorite heroes, and even took part in combat themselves. The war, therefore, was not just a clash between mortals but a cosmic struggle between divine forces, demonstrating the gods' continuous interference in human affairs, often complicating the lines between fate and free will. Despite its divine spectacle and moments of heroism, the Trojan War was ultimately a tragic event, as it was the Greeks who ultimately claimed victory, at a steep cost. The mighty city of Troy was reduced to rubble, and its greatest heroes, Hector and Paris, perished in the war. But the victors did not escape unscathed. Achilles, despite his glorious return to battle, would die at the hands of Paris, guided by the arrow of the god Apollo. Even Odysseus, though victorious in his cleverness, would face a decade of trials and suffering before he could return to his home in Ithaca. At its core, the Trojan War is a profound exploration of the human condition, the desires that drive us, the choices we make, and the inevitable consequences of those choices. The gods may have shaped the course of events, but it was the mortals, Achilles, Hector, Odysseus, Paris, whose actions and flaws remain the most compelling. These heroes were not perfect beings, they were driven by love, honor, rage, and vengeance. Their stories reveal the complexities of human nature and the timeless struggle between personal desires and the greater good. Even now, thousands of years after the fall of Troy, the Trojan War continues to echo in our collective consciousness. The lessons it imparts, about pride, vengeance, love, and the consequences of war, remain as relevant today as they were in antiquity. The Trojan War, with all its divine drama and tragic heroism, serves as a mirror, reflecting the struggles and triumphs that are inherent to the human experience. And as long as we continue to confront questions about fate, honor, and the price of our actions, the war will endure in literature, art, and the very fabric of our shared cultural history. In this eternal dance between glory and tragedy, the Trojan War will remain a timeless epic, ever present in the human story. As we wrap up this deep dive into the legendary Trojan War, Thank you for watching and exploring the timeless themes of love, betrayal, honor, and revenge. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more content that brings ancient myths and their modern-day relevance to life. Before leaving, here are some thought-provoking questions to reflect on. In today's world, how do our decisions mirror the choices made by the heroes of the Trojan War? Is fate something we control, or does it always guide us along a predetermined path? Can the quest for honor and glory ever lead to true peace, or is it always a pursuit that comes with a price? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. It would be great to hear different perspectives on how the lessons of the Trojan War resonate in our lives today. Thanks for watching, and looking forward to seeing you in the next video.